news at the top of the hour. Now, these are not gentle people. It's a heart-wrenching true story narration written by seasoned international journalist Andrew Harding. The book walks us back to a gruesome event that happened on one night in 2016. Suspected thieves Samuel Tjixa and Simon Jubeda, who fell prey to becoming victims of a farm attack at the hands of a pack of white men in Parys in the Free State. The book touches on themed issues that are still topical in this country, where Andrew paints a picture of issues of land, race, unjust system, farm murders and attacks, amongst others. Now, to tell us more about this offering that he described as a piece of narrative nonfiction, this is Andrew Harding, and he joins us on Skype. Andrew, a very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. Welcome.
Good morning to you too. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure having you on the show, Andrew. You have covered many similar stories and court cases throughout your career as a journalist. So what was it about this particular story that spoke to you and cornered you into compiling it in These Are Not Gentle People?
Well, it was an experiment, if you like, because I decided to attach myself to this case very early on in January, February of 2016, after I'd heard about this incident in the Free State, and I decided to follow it from as early as I could, right the way through this 4 and a half year process of justice, and to tell that story before I knew the outcome, before I knew quite as how many twists and turns and dramatic events there would be during the course of this case. So I was fortunate in a way that I chose to pick this case. But I wanted to find an investigation, a double murder case that would, I hope, reveal something about South Africa. And I felt that I was very fortunate in that sense.
Do tell us more about this particular story that really centers around the aftermath of the death of two black farm workers who were cornered and brutally assaulted by a pack of men back in 2016.
So this happened, as you say, January the 6th, 2016. An elderly white farmer called Ludi van der Westhuizen pressed his panic button. He told his neighbours, his relatives outside Parys in the commercial farming district there that he'd been attacked by 2, possibly 3 black men. And within an hour or so, the white farmers had tracked down Samuel Tjixa and Simon Jubeda in the corner of a field. And they did, as you say, proceed to assault them for a couple of hours. The 2 men were taken away unconscious. The following morning, both men were pronounced dead. Initially, the white farmers kept pretty much a wall of silence. They told their children who'd been involved, they told each other, say nothing, and we will be safe. After all, these were suspected thieves. We gave them a beating, nothing more than that. But when the Hawks came to town, under a lot of political pressure, I believe, to investigate this case, they quickly cracked the unity of the white farmers. You had an extraordinary situation where uncles were turning against cousins, brothers were turning against nephews, and the unity of the white farmers collapsed. And the story that emerged became much more complex because it became unclear, for instance, whether Simon and Samuel, these 2 farm workers, had actually gone not to rob the elderly white man, but to demand unpaid wages.
You know, Andrew, there are so many different versions of accounts of what really happened on the night that Samuel and Simon were assaulted. The white farmers have their own version. The black community believe one thing, and, the 40 men that were present have different views. But at the core of the story, 2 black men died and no one stopped it.
Exactly, and this is where the legal battle in court became so fascinating, because, of course, you have the prosecution who are saying, look, we have witnesses who've turned against their own relatives. We have 6 men on trial, and we have what they said was common purpose. In other words, we have put 6 men on trial. 5 of them admit to assaulting these 2 men. The 2 men later died. Therefore, surely justice demands that these men be found guilty of murder. On the other hand, you have the defense saying, well, it's a lot more complicated than that, and you cannot prove, the state has not proved the forensics, they have not proved which person carried out which blow, which kick, which punch that led to these men's death. Therefore, there is reasonable doubt.
Now, tell us about Samuel's mother, Ruth Kokota, who is at the core of this story, and also touch on how her strong views pertaining to the unjust treatment of the people of Tumahole endure, which mostly come from the farm workers that they work for.
So obviously, I was very fortunate in my research to be able to talk to somebody like Ruth Kokota, mother of Samuel Tjixa, who, very courageous woman and very obviously traumatized by what happened to her son and to her family and the economic impact that had on her. And she told me her story, her family's story. They're still, struggling in the aftermath of what happened all these years later. And her anger, of course, borne out by what she sees as the racism, the economic abuse on the farms. And she was very keen for her story and her son's story to be brought to life, if you like. And one of the key things that happened in the trial that shocked so many people was that the trial revolved to some extent around WhatsApp messages, which the white farmers, some of the young white farmers, had recorded during and after the assault, during which they repeatedly used the K word and referred to Samuel and Simon as the K word. And she and many other people in Tumahole and in the community felt that this was all part of the racism that still endures out, particularly in more rural farming areas. And many of Simon and Samuel's friends also spoke of what they said was the abuse they'd received over a long time at the hands of some of those white farmers.
Gosh, that is so awe-inspiring, Andrew. And how were you able to write this story with so much care? I mean, take us through the process of piecing together the research, the interviews, the testimony, and the facts, and tell it in what you call a piece of narrative nonfiction that is in this book.
Well, I made it clear to everybody that I was not there as a newspaper or radio journalist. I wasn't looking for a daily news sensations and dramas. I was going to respect the process and not publish anything until the murder trial was over. And over time, because it took so long, I think more and more people began to realize that it might be worth speaking to me, that it might be useful to speak to me, people on all sides of this case, and there are many sides. And so I took many, many notes. I transcribed perhaps 1 million words of interviews and court transcripts. And then I decided to write in a style that took me out of the process. I was not coming here as a journalist with a particular perspective. I tried to tell this very complex story from each side, not really rushing to judgment, but letting this thriller, if you like, unfold at its own pace.
All right, just in wrapping, where can you get a copy? Is it available in bookshops yet?
It is in all good bookshops and online, wherever you order your book.
All right. Andrew Harding, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. And I also should add that there is a podcast and radio version on the BBC starting on Monday.
Oh, great stuff. Thanks for that piece of information. Andrew, great chatting to you. Good morning.
Thank you for having me on.
That's journalist and writer Andrew Harding, and we've been speaking about his new book titled These Are Not Gentle People. It is 20 minutes to 8. Let's take a quick break.